what comes will go. What is found will be lost again. But what you are is beyond coming and going, and beyond description. These words are from the works of Rumi, which serve as a theme of our service this morning.
Welcome to this house of celebration and memory. One of our favorite songs, which we're about to sing, Come, Come, Whoever You Are, is from the words of Rumi. Unitarian minister Lynn Unger said it to music, "Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan of despair." There's a line that's missing, a line that Rumi had in there that is done as a decant in a choral presentation. Even if you have broken your vows 1,000 times. It's a lyric about forgiving ourselves, because of course we have forgotten our vows again and again. But we're here to recover. It speaks to our need to be accepted. Come, yet again come. So we come, just as we are. We come with exuberant and joyful hearts, eager to witness to others. We come, sometimes short on the goodness of life, wondering, hesitant. We come just as we are. We come ready to be nourished for an hour. We come, young and old together, with experiences to share. We come just as we are, to join as members of one family in this beloved home, our hands and hearts outstretched. Come, yet again, come. Let us stand and sing. So here we are in Ramadan, which honors the arrival of the Quran. The first verses came to the Prophet at this time in the Islamic year. And we are honoring another great revelation, literary gift from Islam, the writings of Rumi. Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. The minute I heard my first love story, I started looking for you, not knowing how blind that was. Lovers don't finally meet somewhere. They're in each other all along. Rumi writes about the beloved of the soul, which is the searching for the mystery, the divine, the meaning of life. Call it what you will. Vague language is helpful because it's not something you can hold with certainty in your mind. It's something that you feel in your heart. Lovers find secret places inside this violent world where they make transactions with beauty. Goodbyes are only for those who love with their eyes, because for those who love with heart and soul, there is no such thing as separation. Now, the life of Rumi, thank you, Christina, that was a marvelous story and images, starts in Persia, a part of Afghanistan now that was in Persia, and prominent Persian family. His father was a professor of religious studies, essentially, had to leave. The Mongol invasion was coming, and they made their way along the Silk Road until there was safety in Turkey. And this city, Konya, was a prominent place, and because it was on the Silk Road, it was very cosmopolitan. There was a Christian community, there was a Jewish community there, and Rumi's writings bridge all of the different divisions of Islam and other religions. It is one of the, it is the best read, most read poetry in America, and it is one of these touchstones where you have in common with people from other traditions this wonderful gift. In 1228, Rumi would be 21, his father dies, and becomes a professor at the local seminary called the Manasa. Beginning of his teaching career and has, as the story goes, very strong followers, and the students love him, and he is wise and a good storyteller. And it's not until this traveler arrives, Shams is also from far away, and he's wandering to search for God and meaning and whatever his role is. He's actually a weaver, and merchants and tradespeople would travel the Silk Route to sell their goods. So he has this day job, but his real calling is as a spiritual teacher, and something clicks. This would get us thinking about the times in our lives when we come across something, when something worked, some idea, some place, some group, some teacher, some book, and it just opens your eyes. This is what happens to Rumi. He's already a success, he's already effective, he's already learned, wise, and then something breaks through that he can't really explain at first. It's a friendship, it's a mentoring moment, and it lasts only about 3 or 4 years. And then, the stories vary why Shams left. Maybe he was done and needed to move on. Maybe there was a sort of competition, probably some resentment because he had become the close friend of their beloved teacher and they were envious. But he left without a word. Probably went back to Tbilisi over in what is now Afghanistan. But in the terrible grief that Rumi felt, he began to dance. And dancing was a form of prayer that was already around, but his spinning was particularly grief-stricken, and he would start muttering. And there was a pole in the teaching room in the seminary there, and he would grab the pole and walk around and sort of spin around, and started saying things. And his students gathered around, as they always did, started writing down what he's. And for years, he would get up and all day long spin and spout. And those are his writings. He didn't write anything down himself. His students were his scribes. After he died, the tradition of whirling got to be stronger and stronger in that particular area, and his son started the order that became the whirling dervishes that we hear about. And usually the hands are like this, but now and then they would take a particular pose, one hand pointing down to the earth and the other bridging to the heaven, that during this altered state, you're connecting everything. The first little reading I want to get to it's called The Guest House. It's about an inn, a small B&B, a hotel, and it's a metaphor for the inner life. This, being human, is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival. My words here, that is a guest. Somebody arrives to stay in your place, or something arrives. Okay. A joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. What great self-help. You're in a bad mood? Ponder it. Say, okay. What are you here? Have a comfortable seat. Let me bring you some tea. Why have you come? Well, what are you here to teach me? This welcoming attitude, it's a marvel. It's a marvel. These little stories, these little poems and teachings have to do with mystical experience. They have to do with something beyond ourselves, some connection to the heavenly realm. Often phrased as a romance. The way of speaking about the mystery is usually the beloved. My head is bursting with the joy of the unknown. My heart is expanding 1,000-fold. Every cell taking wings flies about the world. All seek separately the many faces of my beloved. The many faces, real interfaith stuff here. One person's encounter is going to be so much unlike somebody else's that it'll be hard to explain it. But maybe it's the same, or maybe it's uniquely tailored to each seeker. I swallowed some of the beloved sweet wine, and now I am ill. My body aches, my fever is high. They called in the doctor, and he said, "Here, drink this tea." Okay, time to drink this tea. Take these pills. Okay, time to take these pills. The doctor said, "Get rid of the sweet wine of his lips." Okay, time to get rid of the doctor. The story that I've chosen from Rumi's many, many stories is about Moses and the shepherd. It's almost sundown and the heat of the day is abating. The shepherd had gathered his herd of sheep and goats and was making his way home. A soft, cool breeze had begun to blow, making the thought of imminent night even more delicious. The shepherd was in a good mood and was lovingly praising his beloved. Here's a very religious person. He's praying on the way home as he does his work, unaware that nearby the prophet Moses was within earshot. So here's the shepherd's voice. "Where are you, my one and only beloved, so that I may serve you without fail? Mend your shoes when they're torn. Comb your locks when they're untidy. Wash your clothes when they're soiled. Pick the lice out of your disheveled hair. My magnificent beloved, I promise to always kiss your hands with utter respect, bring you fresh milk every day, rub your tired feet when they're painfully sore, and when it's time to sleep, I'll make your bed, sweep your room. My life is yours, to do with as you wish. My goats, my sheep, my entire livelihood all belong to you, for you are my one and only love." Unusual prayer, but all right, this romantic way of expressing what he has to give. Well, Moses, the great prophet, is nearby, and he's listening to this litany, which he considers kind of blasphemous. Finally, he can't keep quiet. He steps forward and asks this simple shepherd with great authority, "Who were you speaking to?" "Oh," the shepherd replies, "the one who created you and me, the earth and the sky." He replies this with great innocence, not recognizing the great prophet. Moses could not hold back his anger and exclaimed in horror, "You miserable, pitiful man, what's this nonsense you're spitting out? I am Moses, your prophet, and I'm telling you, shut your disdainful mouth this instant. The Creator has no worldly limbs. Shoes are for those who need them. Milk is for someone who's growing. Your praise makes no sense. Stop it before your life is forever cursed." Astounded and ashamed, the shepherd sighed, "Oh, Moses, you have sewn my lips together. I repent and wish that my life could be set on eternal fire this very moment." And he stood up, ripped his shirt, threw it to the wind, and sobbed into the desert. Strange story. We think so well of Moses, but what is this judgment? What is this criticism? This fierce anger at this poor man? Well, after this little encounter, Moses grows deeply tired, and a heavy slumber descends on him. In this deep sleep, he has a revelation. I think we'd call that a dream. In the dream, a voice comes, "Moses, what have you done?" And Moses immediately recognizes the undeniable sound of God's voice. "You've alienated my faithful servant from me. Did I send you as my prophet to unite me with people or to sever me from them? I've allowed everyone their own way of worshiping, their own form of expression. I have no need of their prayers, but they do. What may seem like poison to you could be honey to someone else. I don't look at what my people say outwardly. I only see what's inside their hearts. I want to see the burning of love. So light up the fire of love in your soul and banish your unhelpful thoughts once and for all. On hearing God's words, his wisdom was so implanted in Moses' soul that he opened up his eyes to secrets unknown to him before, and able to see for the first time beyond the superficial. Within moments, he was heading into the desert on the trail of that poor shepherd, agonizing over how harsh he'd been, how unkind his words had been. It didn't take long to find the footsteps, and they were different from most footsteps, so he could find that some places the poor man had been dragging his feet and then limping and stepping sideways and backwards and even crawling at times, clearly in some tumultuous state of mind. In due time, Moses spotted the shepherd in the distance and carefully approached him, speaking softly and kindly this time. "Oh, my dear shepherd, you've been blessed by the Creator. The Beloved has reproached me for speaking to you so abrasively. Pray in any way you prefer. In fact, the Beloved adores your words, the ones that come directly from your heart. Please continue in the manner that you always prayed. The Beloved wants you to know that you are fine just as you are." Okay, we have amends here, and something better has happened, and both have been blessed by this strange encounter. But there's a little more to the story. The shepherd raised his face to Moses. He was not the same man anymore. His eyes did not belong to this world, and his voice rose from a much more profound depth. "Moses, I've gone beyond your hollow words. I'm mad in my soul. I've traveled past the earth and sky, 1,000 years beyond. You brought down your whip on my very being, hurling me into worlds beyond my dreams. Praise be to your whipping arm, which laid such a blow and roused me to my own truth. I can't explain who or what I am anymore. All I know is that I am sailing away. And where to? I cannot tell." The shepherd then said goodbye with great respect, turned his back on Moses, and staggered away, traveling deeper into the desert until he became invisible. First of all, we have a story about being open to many ways, not judging others. And well cast, it puts Moses in the story. It drew from all the traditions that were around in his storytelling. But to have a towering figure like this makes such a huge mistake. Well, we've all made mistakes. We've been critical, we've been judgmental of ourselves and others, instead of being trusting and open. And then this strange coda. When he goes back to make amends, Moses finds a transformed human being, someone who has gone into a mystical dimension that he is enormously grateful for and truly blessed by. That this mistake that Moses made was a breakthrough for the poor man. Truly, with the word break, it broke him, but it broke him open. So now he sees the celestial lights. He's wandered off into a connection with the sacred that he had only longed for before. So it's not really about differing theological perspectives. It's about being careful not to dismiss others' traditions and ways of doing things, that perhaps there's a place of connection beyond what we see. The shepherd's language was unsophisticated, but it was the language of love, and it was the only language he knew to express his deep connection to the divine. Our interpretation suits us, but different strokes for different folks. Moses had his way of praying, and the poor shepherd had his. There's a famous quote from Rumi: "Out beyond the idea of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there." Beyond what we know to be true, our personal truths, beyond our certainties, our beliefs, our high values, beyond finding fault with anybody else's way of looking at things, there's a place where we can meet. There's a place where those things aren't important, where humanity is the transcendent thing. We need to connect with others in a spirit of understanding. The psychological lessons are that we can transcend duality. We can get past this or that, right or wrong. We can find a kind of connection that has wholeness in it. And in this place beyond our own wisdom, beyond our own knowing, beyond our own perspectives, is a great freedom and great growth. Action steps. I have 5. Action steps. Well, first of all, the whirling dervishes, their whole tradition was an action step. That spinning, that form of reflection took them places. A comment about the outfits. That strange-looking, very tall hat they wore was supposed to be a tombstone or evocative of a tombstone. And those billowy white costumes they wore while spinning, that was to represent a shroud. They were spinning in death, death to the ego, that they would die to be reborn into something larger than themselves, that particular activity, that form of meditation would take them beyond their own identity. So the first action step is to figure out your own spiritual practices. You don't have to spin. There are others to choose from. We're in California. There's a workshop or a self-help book on anything anyone ever tried, and we've explored a lot of them in this room. Find what works for you and do it on a regular basis. It might be creative expression. It might be art or music or writing or something. It might be time in nature. We need to go beyond the practical consciousness of everyday activity and find the larger gifts of the human endowment. The second action step, practice self-compassion. The stories have harsh judgment in them, and then ways to recover from that. Recognize your worth. Be gentle with yourself. Honor your own imperfections. Embrace vulnerability. See your wounds as gateways to spiritual growth. Explore the meaning of your fears, recognizing its potential for transformation. Prepare yourself to have a good death. That shows up in the spiritual wisdom of the world, that the way we live our life can affect how we are in the last week of our life, what it's like. Did we do a good job with this? Did we have a good time? Did we do our journey? And you know, we struggle for words in this room for what to call the mystery beyond ourselves. I'm fascinated with the idea of a life story making demands on us. That there might be moments when you say or think, I'm not exactly sure why I'm doing this, but something in my life story needs this. I need to do this. That in itself is getting beyond everyday consciousness. The work of self-compassion goes on. We are too quick to judge ourselves, and there are ways out of that bind. The third action step is to practice radical acceptance. This is in the story. This is noticing that other people's paths are different, but they are living in different worlds. Celebrating diversity is embracing beauty from different perspectives. I'm seeing Marty here. I'm thinking of interfaith conversations. To deliberately seek out people who think very differently and believe things that are very different, to see the beauty in that, and you will learn more about your vision, your revelation by seeing how other people say it. Try to reflect on common values, things that unite us, letting go of judgments about others, and by extension, maybe we can let go of some of the judgments about ourselves. The fourth action step is to cultivate humility. Accepting our mortality is pretty humbling. The integration of opposites is a heavy theme throughout Rumi's writings, and this is not only things that seem opposite in the world, right and wrong, this or that, us and them, but the oppositions within ourselves, the parts that we identify with and the parts that seem other to us. Finding the sacred in the ordinary can help with this. And the fifth and last action step is if you take up these studies and you discover some wonders, whether it's whirling or through some other breakthrough, be a little selective who you share the wonders with. They say the difference between a mystic and a psychotic is that the mystic knows who not to tell. Joseph Campbell used to tell a story about the whirling dervishes that had some place up in the hills, and they would spin and they would see God. And then once in a while they needed some groceries or some building supplies. They'd send somebody down into the village. And rather often, that person would not come back. The villagers would kill them. And it was mystifying the dervishes up on the hill why this happened. And they finally started to figure it out, that somehow they were scary to the people in the village. And so they had a meeting. I'm paraphrasing a much longer story, but in the meeting they said, listen, when you go into the village, get food, get wood and tools and the things we need, but don't tell them everything we do up here. Wear the cloak of the law, and the little story is usually called the cloak of the law. That just means ordinary clothing, the law being just getting along with ordinary reality, conforming, if you will. Try to look normal, okay? Wear the cloak of the law and get what we need and come back. And up here you can open it up. And outside it looks like everyday people. Inside, all the stars of heaven. Namaste. Blessed be. And so it goes. We're going to